If you're young and just single and a mother,
You never know what God can do.
but you better believe you can make it through it. Stand up tall and pay your dues.
This is YSM. Welcome to Young Single Mothers. I'm your host Yolanda, and today we're looking at Tia's take. I'm so excited because it's actually my sister's birthday, so happy birthday, Tiamo! So this episode is dedicated to her. Y'all are gonna hear from her, and yeah, she's just absolutely beautiful in every single way. So, never have I seen such a full YSM table, but we're gonna get into all of this after we hear from my awesome and amazing sister, Tiamo.
Hello, young single mom viewers. This is Tiamo, Yolanda's sister, coming at you on this beautiful Tuesday. It's not Tuesday, but it will be. So Yolanda asked me to kind of let you all know a little bit about my perspective of her journey. She wanted me to start with talking about how I responded when I found out she was pregnant. And the truth is, the moment she asked me, I was like, I have no idea. I don't know. I mean, I feel like I was, like in my mind, in the moment when she asked me, I was like, oh, I probably don't know if I responded very well. But I decided to do some research. The first thing I decided to do was go to my journals from 2009, and I couldn't find them. I don't know where they are, but they should be a journal somewhere. I feel like I did. Then what I did is I went into my old emails and tried to remember, because I know my mom had been the one who told me. So I went through my old emails, I read it, and I found that indeed my mom did send me an email that was and this was the thing that was interesting. My mom doesn't send emails, let alone long emails. So I was surprised when I saw it. I remember reading it. So I started thinking, what could she be talking about? So I start reading it. And I think this was a little bit after my aunt had died, and that was like a whole other trauma of its own. Or was it a little bit before? I know they happened close together. So I'm reading it, and as I'm reading it, I'm just kind of shocked. In my head, I'm thinking, wait, am I reading right? Like, what's happening? Like, is this correct? So I respond to her the first email saying, I'm not sure if what I read was correct. And my whole email back to my mom was very apologetic. Like, I'm sorry, because she was understandably upset, which is Yolanda has talked about in previous clips. And I'm like, really sorry, mom, just a lot of apologeticness was the whole vibe of that email. And then I guess I called Yolanda after, and I have no clue what I said. She will tell us. But I think in my head, now that I think about it, I think I can remember being in a stance of sort of calm, trying not to be judgmentalness. I think that's where my brain was, but I don't know. I could have been cussing her out. I don't know. But that's what I imagine. Because I remember when I was reading my mom's email, my eyes were filling up with tears. I was just shocked. More than anything, I was at that point disappointed, because she was such a solid Christian. I was such a solid Christian. I was like, what is going on? And it was in a whole general mantra of what really hasn't changed as much, of feeling very kind of let down by fellow Christians. I think that was my main thing that I was saddened by.
Okay, so I don't remember the whole conversation. I remember we was on the phone, and one thing that she did say was that, she was scared, as we were all scared. But anyway, one thing she did say was that, well, if God didn't want it to happen, he would have sent a sign, like maybe thunder or lightning or something would have happened, it would have stopped. So yeah, I'm paraphrasing, but it was something like that.
So my mom wrote back to me again, and then I wrote her again, and I'll just read you a little bit of what I said. I said, I had a discussion with Yolanda. As much as she's to blame, and I'm going to be changing some wording now based on my philosophy and my understanding of feeling like my nephew's a blessing. Just on one word, I'm going to change. I said, as much as she's to blame, she's still my sister, and my love for her has not changed. Surprises happen, and I'm taking this as a warning not to make the same surprises. But God has mercy and grace on her, so now I cannot show her the same. So how can I not show her the same mercy and grace?
Aw, isn't she so beautiful?
I understand your anger because I know this is one surprise you didn't want us to make, but you have to be forgiving. It's not the end of the world, and you're going to find this baby a joy. And what a prophetic word, because boy, was he a joy.
Still is.
If we get angry, it will only tear the family apart. Let's choose love and forgiveness. I love you, Tiamo, is what I said in response to my mom. So I'm going to assume that what I said to her was in the same vein, but it was something that I felt very strongly like there's really no point of being judgmental. And even though I think I was let down, not as an aunt, but as a Christian, I think is the way I was thinking about it. And then following that, we're here almost 12 years later, exactly from the date that I found out, and minus a month, because that was April 2nd that email was dated. So how's it been since then? I think it's been interesting. I feel like when I went home, because I was here in uni at the time, when I went home that first summer, it was kind of weird seeing my sister pregnant. It was a very strange sensation for me.
Okay, so for real though, at that time, I was very emotional. I remember when she was coming home that holiday, I was pregnant. She flew through South Africa and she stopped by there and spent a bit of time with one of our close family friends, no names mentioned. And he made her late for the plane. So she missed her plane here, the first one that was coming. And I just got so emotional. I remember I was at ShopRite, I was in the car, she called me to tell me she'd missed her plane and I just cried. I was like, oh my gosh, how you missed it? It was ugly, but I was glad that she finally got home. And
then the following year I went and my nephew was 6 months old, and that was different too. It was a lot of different things, I think. So I remember there was one night where he was crying. He was a very colicky baby, like he just cried a lot compared to a lot of babies that I've come across. And we should have taken that as a warning. The boy does not keep quiet. But he was crying a lot, and I said to my sister, and she was like at her wit's end a lot of that time when he was 6 months old. And this is when she started having like lupus flare-ups as well, and was swelling up for no unknown reason at the time. So I remember thinking to myself, okay, how can I be helpful? So I remember one night I told her, okay, you can just sleep, I'll look after him.
I love how she tells that story. She cut out like a whole ugly part. Like, let's be real, guys. The reality was he was crying his head off, and I got him, and I was like, somebody take this baby before I kill him. Not a proud moment, but that's what really happened.
And you guys, I was up with that kid maybe 3 hours that night, and I was like, I could kill myself. I understand why my sister is so stressed, and you know, why she was experiencing all of that she was experiencing, but it was just hard. And I think I was very empathic, even though I won't lie, for a couple of years after that I would make jokes because she'd ask me to do stuff, and she'd be like, oh Tiamo, can you do this with Chris? And I'd be like, I was so sassy. Should I even say what I used to say? I was so rude. I'll be like, girl, there's a reason I keep my legs closed. I was so rude. So judgy. But I was saying it in love. But I will say right from the beginning, I was very impressed with Yolanda's parenting. I think for me, like her, I'm very into books. I feel like everything you ever need to learn about being a human and being an adult is in a book somewhere. This might come from my philosophy as a Christian. Everything's in the Bible, right? But just in every other way as well. So I'm huge on learning about parenting. And again, also I'm a child psychologist. So in my head, I'm like, it's in a book, right? Granted, a few years on now, I know that not everything can be in a book, and some things are just come by grace. Being a parent is not easy. It's not for the faint-hearted, especially now, a few years down, having worked with several parents as a child psychologist, I realized that parenting is not for punks. But one thing my sister did right away, which I think is an interesting combination of her personality and her style, right? She was very, some might call it rigid.
Oh, hell yeah, rigid. You know, actually, the reality is, I'm anal, and that's just how I am. Is anal actually a bad word? Oh gosh, I don't know. But yeah, that's the best way I can describe the type of person that I am. Yeah, like proper. Actually, to give an example, one thing I do not let children do is touch my phone. I'm like, no, my phone is not for you. So Christopher never played with my phone, ever. But
she was very, non-compromising about her child's schedule and what she wanted and how she wanted him to be raised. So I think that in a way, and I know this, right? As a child psychologist, boundaries are so important for a child. And Yolanda was really good at doing this. You know, it's funny because I always say, I feel like I'm a mixture of Yolanda and Heather. And Heather is also like this, but Heather is much more like, no, I'm just going to go with the flow. And Heather chose a very like attachment parenting style. Like I'll do when my child, you know, like following the child's lead in parenting, which is also a very solid philosophy of parenting. I feel like mine would be somewhere in the middle, right? I want to be very rigid with my boundaries, but I also want to like follow the child's, you know, lead and all of those things. So I think one of the things that was great, especially for the circumstances for Christopher, because right from the age of 6 months, he was being in our household and in his dad's side household. So it was a very interesting combination of things where he was always between households, but because of how rigid Yolanda was and also how respectful Christopher's grandmother was.
Woman is awesome, hands down. Amazing grandmother.
I felt like she was able to actually maintain a sense of consistency and normalcy for him by having those structures, by the way things are done and all of those things. And that's something that I really admire. I'm always like, man, you really stick to your guns. Like, she's a very non-compromising parent. And I think that's one thing that's key, right? A lot of times parents get walked all over, for lack of a better word, because their boundaries just aren't strong, and kids are nothing but good testers of boundaries. And I think Yolanda has always been really good at implementing that. But also in that structure, she's making sure she's maintaining like a way of teaching him things, right? So since the day I can remember, pretty much since he was born, she always has like a pre-bedtime routine. Even when she was sick, she always tried to make sure somebody was maintaining his pre-bedtime routine, reading a book, reading the Bible, like all of those things. So he knows what's in his lifestyle, right? That makes a child feel safe. And I think that Christopher has always felt that he knows there's a routine with his mother that he can always fall back on. But on top of that, it also was really good in terms of discipline, right? He's a pretty good kid. And then on top of that, learning, he's a very good kid. He's always coming first in his class. Some of that could be genetics. But I think a good amount of that is structure. She always has taught him, like, you do your work and then you have fun.
Truth be told, now that he's growing up, it's a struggle. Like just keeping 100, it is a struggle buzz to maintain all those things that I was so rigid about. But you know what? I pick myself up every now and then, but it gets hard. Well, it did for me anyway.
You know, and he's been able to stick that. That's one thing I, as a 30-year-old woman, still cannot do. So I've always admired that she instills really good, a sense of responsibility in him. She's instilled really good, a sense of deferred gratification, which I think is the most important thing you can teach a child. So that's always been great. I think there's only been one time when she, by my judgment, overpunished him. Where I think he was like 3 or something, and he'd been potty trained. She was potty training him, and he like made an accident, and she didn't hit him or nothing, but she was out here in these streets, and I was like, girl, he's 3, like, let the boy go, like. So that was the only time that I felt like that was extra. But I will also say that I think watching my sister be a single mom has made me almost feel jealous of that, because I have no desire to be a single mom. If it comes to that, I might be a single mom, but I feel like it has allowed for them to have such a relationship where I don't think Christopher is parentified at all, but I feel like they have a teamness to them, right? They're like a team together. They're like best friends, even though she's very clearly still the mom. And that I'm like, you know, when you have a husband and your husband is your teammate, there's a little bit of that's not there. Like, you're your kid's parent, and that's good too. And I'm sure there's some parents who manage the balance of being very close to their kids. But like, you know, Yolanda and Chris have their routines and their movie nights and this and that. That's really cool. And I'm always like, man, that would be awesome. If I can cultivate that kind of relationship, I will really look forward to doing that. But that's most of my perspective so far. I hope that that's helpful to you guys and that everybody learned something from today. Thank you.
Aww, happy birthday, Tiamo. Thank you. Thank you so much for coming on Young Single Mothers and just sharing with the audience a little bit about your viewpoint, which is of course biased, but I'll take it. So what is all of this? Tiamo talked about how she believes everything is in a book somewhere. And of course not everything, because life happens, but these are just some of the books that she has gotten me over the years. They're not in any particular order, but I just want to go through them because I remember in season 1 somebody did ask me about some of the titles of the books that I read or have read that have helped me in my journey, not just as a single mom but as a parent. So the 10 Habits of Happy Mothers, I read this a long time ago. I lent it to a friend and it actually came back. How many of y'all are like, where is that book? I remember lending it to someone. Yeah, it came back. So this was a really good read, and it just really helps you refocus yourself and really maintain your sanity. You need your sanity as a mom. Truth be told, guys, this still looks brand new, and the reason it still looks brand new is that I'm struggling to get through this book. I'm on page from when I read it 20 million years ago, chapter 4, page 73. Anyway, it is a good book, but I'm struggling to read it. It's a hard read. You know, you come across those books that are like, I'll get through that in 2 days. This has taken me years, guys. I have not picked it up for years, but I will pick it up at some point because my son be growing. I'll probably need it more very soon. So this book is not necessarily a single mom book, but I know the writer has a child who did get pregnant outside of wedlock, and she talks about that a bit in this book. But I just love that. I think being a single mom is very associated sometimes, not all the time, with just a certain brokenness in our lives, and she just addresses that in this book, and that really, really blessed me, and I loved it. It was a great read. I got through it, even though this little thing is hanging in there, making me look like I did not, but I did. Oh, this is the manual. Oh my gosh. Okay. This is a focus on the family book, okay? It's by authors. I know James Dobson was on this, and I love Dr. James Dobson. He wrote Dare to Discipline. I think the man is amazing. He's phenomenal. I don't know if he's in the same field as my sister and clinical child psychology and all that, but he's got so many amazing parenting tips. This is not his book. He just wrote the foreword, but this takes you pretty much from before the baby comes to when the child is like 18. So I have not gotten through to the adolescent years, but this has been a blessing. Sorry, Em. And it's phenomenal. If you can ever get your hands on a book similar to this one, you could not go wrong. Investing in your life as a parent is necessary. We need it. Our kids need it. We need it as well, because it's the best job in the world. All right. So when it comes to talking about sex, baby, it can get pretty hard. It was easy when my son was younger. We could go through these books and talk about boys' bits, girls' bits, and all of that. So it's knowledge that's at the back of his head, but of course now he's learning more about sex from his friends in the playground, which is what happens to most of us. But I made a decision that I want to be that parent that will talk to my child about sex. Right now he really doesn't want to hear about it. There are times when he's like, okay, and then he's like, no, thank you. But I did have this book, which I really, really love. It just talks about boys bits and girls bits, and talking about the differences. So this was like our little intro to the male and female anatomy. Can I call it that? Anyway, brilliant book. And then it gets realer and realer and realer. Oh, yes. It got real. So Tiamo was really cool. She just hooked me up with all these books. She's like, let's now talk about sex in the proper way. Where did babies come from? So y'all, if you want to be that mom, that parent, get some books, because it is hard to talk about sex, but let's not make it a taboo. It's not a taboo. It's something that our children need to learn from us. I know our parents' generation are not about that life, but things are changing. Our generation are like, guys, let's talk about it. So here we are. Plenty of books available out there in these streets to help us talk to our children about sex and what it means and all that kind of stuff. I am not obviously, but I'm a Jesus freak now. I haven't always been a Jesus freak. I gave my life to Christ when I was 21, got knocked up as a Christian. It's a whole roller coaster of life and issues I'm not going to get into, but I really want to give my son that at the end of the day, I can't control what he does. I'm not going to say, oh my gosh, my son will be a virgin until the day he gets married. If he is, awesome, more power to him. But I really want him to understand the intricate details of what sex is all about. And I'm willing to talk about it. There are times when I'm not, but then, I'm going to muster up that energy and talk to him about sex more and more, especially now that he's in high school. And high school is very real. So, sex books everywhere. So if you can get your hands on some of these titles and books and research on the internet, we have information for days. The times that we're living in, there's no excuse to not know certain things, because there's always something out there that's going to help you in the journey of life, no matter what type of relationship it is that you're trying to invest in. So y'all, I would encourage you to get you some books, okay? So we've talked so much about books this season. One of the books that I did delve into so much was a local Malawian written book by Queen Caroline Gondwe. And I have got some copies that I would love to give away, okay? In the final episode of season 2 next week, I'm going to be giving away 3 of these books, and I'm excited because I like giving things away. I'm like, y'all, I just want to give things away. I just want to be like Oprah, just throwing things out. So those are up for grabs. So what y'all need to do to get one? You know what? I know we're on Facebook, we are on YouTube. I just want you to drop a comment. Let me know how Young Single Mothers as a show has been helpful to you. Maybe you can give suggestions of what you would like to see more of on Young Single Moms. And yeah, just let me know that you're out there, you're listening. I will be keeping an eye out on your comments with reference to getting this book. And that's all you need to do. Nothing. You don't have to follow me on both platforms. Some people are more into Facebook, others are more into YouTube. It's up to you. You just need to leave a comment. So you can get this book right here that I think is great for all parents actually. So you don't have to be a single mom to get this. I just need to know that you're watching. Full stop. That's it. So guys, that's been it for the 23rd of March 2021. My baby sister has officially exhausted the dates of the calendar. If you know, you know. No more crown birthdays from here on out. But thank you so much, Tiamo, for being awesome. Thank you so much for investing in my life as a parent. You've always been there for me. I'm so grateful to have you in my life. You're phenomenal. I'm not going to get emotional and get all mushy-gushy, but I love you and thank you so much. And all the viewers right now, thank you so much for tuning in to Young Single Mothers. Once again, I'm looking forward to seeing you on the season finale next week. Season 2, y'all, is out. It's going. So yeah, all right. Have a great day. Bye.
1, 2, 3, go!
If you're young and you're single and a mother,
You never know what God can do,
you
yeah.
better believe you can make it through it. Stand up tall and pay your dues.
This is YSM.